we talked to Justin Martin, attraction design intern on Universal's Volcano Bay, on episode 308 of the Unofficial Universal Orlando podcast. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to this week's episode of UOP. I am your host today, Chris, and joining me, as always, we have Lee.
Hello, Ron.
Tracy.
Hello.
And the man himself, Darren.
What's up, Internet? And I'm just letting you know right now, I'm keeping my shirt on for this episode. I'm a shirt on at the water park kind of guy.
Uh-huh.
Now, we have a special guest on today, Justin Martin of Thinkwell. Hey, Justin.
How are you?
Hey, Justin.
Hi.
How is everybody doing?
All right.
Excited to have you on, Justin.
Very,
Having never
yes.
visited Volcano Bay, I'm still really
Yes.
excited to talk about because from what I've seen, it looks
It's
amazing.
beautiful.
Yeah, no, I'm very happy with it myself, so I'm excited to
Yes.
talk to everybody about it.
Excellent.
Having visited a few times, I'm excited you're on here too.
Yes, Chris is our resident Volcano Bay expert.
Perfect, I love it.
Love it. Now, Justin, we wanted to bring you on to talk about Volcano Bay, as we recently had the anniversary of the opening of Universal's first water theme park. So before we get into Volcano Bay, can you give the listeners a brief history of your history in theme parks and what led you up to working on Volcano Bay?
Yeah, absolutely. I guess really to start, I started going to Orlando, originally from New Jersey. I started going to Orlando for vacation, I think maybe when I was about 5 or 6, for, a couple times every few years, and kind of just became a family vacation every year. And my mom always tells me that all she ever heard me say was, I want to work for Disney. I want to work for Disney. It's really just translated, I think, to, I want to design theme parks. I just had no idea at the time. And so kind of just my whole life, I've only wanted to design themed entertainment experiences. And then eventually came time to go to school, went to school at Savannah College of Art and Design, got a degree in production design, which is just scenic design. And we were part of the first degree also to get a minor in themed entertainment design. So it was specifically what I was looking for, which couldn't have been more perfect.
Awesome.
Yeah. So then really after that, before I had graduated, I guess, there was an opportunity for internships at Universal Creative. And absolutely jumped right onto that. It was the summer that Diagon Alley was going to be open.
Oh,
so
nice
it was,
time.
Yeah, it was a great time to be there.
Yeah.
So certainly was really a match made in heaven. So kind of packed all my stuff up from Savannah, drove down to Orlando for I think it was about 3-4 months, and kind of was plopped on Volcano Bay and worked on that for a while.
Very cool.
Awesome.
It's not a bad way to start in things, is it?
I know.
No, yeah, first job in the themed entertainment industry for being Volcano Bay. It's very special, especially now. But I couldn't have picked a better project.
Yeah.
I think.
And what year was this?
I want to say it was 2014, if I'm
Okay.
remembering correctly. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to think when because it wasn't open in 2013 when we came out. I think it
No.
opened up.
But it was
yeah,
for
but it was
15.
for 2015. So
Yeah.
yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, not a bad time. And the nice perks of being able to go and check Diagon Alley out before it had opened.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
that was even more than just working there as a fan, because I always tell people I'm more of a fan of this industry than even as a designer. And to be able to just walk into Diagon Alley as they were still kind of wrapping up on everything was the coolest dang thing I've ever
Yeah.
experienced.
Yeah.
I think even being like part from the beginning, like just seeing laid out ground and then seeing that
Oh,
slowly
yeah.
get built up must have been a really cool experience.
Yeah, that was I guess a little bit into part of designing Volcano Bay. I think I tweeted out or a picture. I think it was at least on the opening, maybe even at the 1 year. I put out a picture. It was me and our team. We had to go out and just take some sightline photos of what turned out to be Volcano Bay, and I had one of the photos still on me, and it was standing where the volcano would be. And I think it would be about 3-4 years later, and all it was just dirt, and it was the weirdest thing standing there and looking like this is going to be in a few years just a massive water park. And And right now it is just dirt, and I have no idea how we're going to get to that. But it happened, and I think it turned out really nicely.
Yeah.
This from outsiders looking in, from fans of the theme parks, we've discussed it a little bit on the show, trying to visualize just a plot of land and then think to what it is now, that transition period between dirt and amazing looking water park. It's mind boggling.
I still have no idea how we do it.
I even remember staying back at Volcano Bay, before the park was opened, and you guys had that blocked off in the back where the pool area was. So, try to stand up on a chair and look over and see what you do. But I couldn't even imagine at that time how an entire water park was going to fit in that spot. It looked like an extended pool area from my mind. Obviously, I'm not very creative, right? But you guys being able to do that was really cool.
Yeah, no, it's the team that we had there, and for my part on Volcano Bay, I was there for the initial 3 months designing what it could be, and then going back to school after that, and kind of then just becoming a fan again of just seeing what was going to make it, and kind of just seeing it all rise up from helicopter photos or whatever art was released. So kind of then knowing what we had planned and what ideas we had come up with, and then eventually kind of seeing it all take shape without really having many connections to the project after I had left. It became just a very almost speculation on my end of what's going to make it, what's it going to look like, any of it is any of it going to make it, kind of thing. So it was I think any major project I think is a miracle to happen, just the sheer size of how big these construction projects can be.
It's funny looking at it from our point of view. We've spoken to quite a lot of people who've been involved in the creation of things at Universal Studios Florida, things at Islands of Adventure, and it's actually quite surprising how many of those people have never gotten to experience the things that they've created.
Yeah, that's the weirdest thing is then actually walking in and seeing everything and seeing everything around you that was either inspired by maybe a sketch that you had done, or something that you were in a meeting and it's made its way through 4 years of concept and design and then ends up there. It's crazy how it goes from just that little piece of paper to being a part of just a massive water park, really.
Yeah. So Justin, what was your specific role on Volcano Bay?
So for Volcano Bay, obviously as an intern, I was there. I was an attraction designer was my title, and really my main role was assisting our attraction design team. When I was there, we were in kind of our blue sky phase, which was kind of just developing what could this park be. So a lot of my work revolved around just developing, what could the water slide towers look like? What could the theming of the benches to the, what would the lifeguard stands look like to, restaurants? Just really, what could any of this look like? And we kind of had an idea. I think at the time we knew the theme of the park was already decided on. The name and all that fun stuff was kind of already kind of put in place. And then it was really now just telling what the visual story of the park was going to be. So kind of doing a lot of research, looking at a lot of things down in the Pacific and different just regions of the world for inspiration on different thatched roofings and what even other things is what other water parks have done. What have they done that's been successful? What hasn't been successful in design, and then kind of just morphing it into what our design language of Volcano Bay was going to be, and make sure that it kind of stayed consistent through the whole park. So it was a real big range of just the big things, as big as what could the top or the shade structures on top of the water towers look like, down to some things I had done were like lifeguard stands, which were the most obscure thing.
But necessary.
But very necessary. Exactly.
Details.
Exactly.
Yeah, and that's what I always hear when people talk about Volcano Bay is they talk about the little details there. They're really bring everything together. So you guys did a great job with that for sure.
Yeah, thank you.
Right, this is just making, I'm not a water park person really, but the more we're already talking about this, it's like I need to go. Even if I don't go in the water, I need to go.
It's 95 degrees down here right now. I'm dying to get inside. I'll even sit inside Krakatoa, okay? I'll do that for you guys.
And that was one thing. I remember when I had been placed on the project, my first thought was, man, I do not like water parks. It was never a thing I ever liked doing. And then when it finally opened, going there, now my family and I are like, well, we got to put in one day at least to go to Volcano
Yeah.
Bay, just because we have just so much fun at it. Aside from having some kind of emotional attachment to it.
Yes, of course.
Walking around chest pushed out. I helped
Just a
design this,
little
don't you know?
Oh yeah, yeah. You like that? Oh yeah, I designed that. You enjoying that bench? Is that comfy?
Thing is, you couldn't help it. You'd end up doing it. I know I would.
Well, maybe not out loud, maybe mentally. Yeah.
Yeah, no, and that's the fun part is that, as myself, obviously, and a whole massive team of people doing it, but it's definitely fun to kind of sit there and go, oh, I remember drawing something that looked slightly like that, and then someone else that I knew that was on there, they took it and pushed it a little bit further and a little further, and it's a great culmination of just so many different people.
Yeah.
And then kind of sitting there and knowing that you had just the smallest little piece of it, and it's a really cool feeling.
Yeah. And even knowing that it's almost like a legacy you're leaving behind of yourself at a place that's going to be there for years to come. That's got to be a really cool feeling.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know if that'll be a question later on, but that was one of the coolest things for me was walking into the park. I went with my mom and sister for the first time, and it was the coolest thing, I think, watching, like, growing up, my mom always and dad took me to the parks and kind of watched me experience the theme parks through my eyes, and it was almost a little bit of a reverse watching them experience something that I had done, and knowing that a dream of mine has been to work on these projects for this whole time. As you slowly approached the entrance to the park and you come out from the tunnel and there is this massive volcano, I think it was just that really cool moment of seeing a little bit of pride on my mom's face and my dad's face, kind of seeing like, okay, well, he did it. Obviously not the whole thing, but like, this is finally a moment of like the dream has come true a little bit. And there's definitely, I think, a little bit of pride with everybody on the team and everybody's families as well.
Yeah.
Awesome. So when Universal came to your company with the idea of a water park, did they give you guys a theme, or was that something that that you guys came up with? And were there any other themes that were considered?
Yeah. So for, I guess, Universal, at the time I was working for Universal, so the higher ups, I guess, had gotten the mandate that it was time to build a water park. And yeah, exactly. When I had arrived, I think it had maybe been a month or so they had been working on the water park itself. I could be completely wrong on that, but I don't think it was very long into the development at the time. And they kind of just we knew what the theme, what the I can't talk today. And the name of the park, they kind of had all that stuff kind of figured out and where they wanted to put it. And then from there, we kind of just threw up ideas of, what could the slides be, what's the variation of the different attractions, all that kind of fun stuff was then kind of put onto us to, experiment and see what would work the best for the park.
Cool. I think when you look at it, how it fits into Universal Orlando Resort, I think the theme is perfect. We were watching one of Tim Tracker's Cabana Bay video last night, and the view from the rooms in those new towers, where you just open the curtains and there's floor to ceiling windows of just this view of Krakatoa and Volcano Bay. I was just like, right, just plunk me a chair in front of this window. I am not moving for the entire day because the view is stunning.
Yeah. It didn't look real, did it? It was just amazing.
Yeah, that's I still need to get into one of those rooms one day, but that's the one thing I see every time is like it's incredible how you can just open it up and right there is this water park, and it is a gorgeous view.
Yeah, I can vouch for that view, and thank you so much for that awesome view you guys gave us. Because the first time we ever went, me and my girlfriend went over there. We stayed at one of the new towers that opened up, asked for volcano view. They gave it to us, and I took a picture. And I remember I have this picture still. I sent it to a bunch of friends, and I posted it up online. And people were just asking me if that was just a promo picture. So picture perfect, seeing the volcano there with the background and everything. I'm like, nope, just took this from my room, staring at this right now. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's similar, I think, to like the views you should get at. I know Disneyland Paris has the hotel right in front of their Magic Kingdom, and it's very similar. You can open up the window, and bam, there's Sleeping Beauty Castle. It's the same idea of you just can't beat a view where you're looking into a theme park of some sort. It's incredible.
I think it's very clever have your budget hotel
Oh, yes.
to give people a massive reason to want to stay in those rooms, because I think it is a huge deal to think, oh, I really want to wake up to that view every morning.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I think it's even it's a perk to the budget hotel in that because a couple of my friends that do work over there now, we talk about this stuff all the time, and we were saying that now it's almost like it is the coolest, more upcharged hotel pool you'll ever have. Well, it's an additional $60-something or whatever it is to go into Volcano Bay. It's a step away from your hotel as well, and it's almost like, well, why wouldn't I pay that instead? You know. And Cabana Bay has already got an awesome pool with the lazy river. Now you can get an even awesomer pool, I guess.
Moving on, Justin, I know one of the things that we've noticed with Universal Orlando, when they build, obviously they're very confined with the space that they've got to work in. And we know that the space they used to put Volcano Bay in a game was quite constrictive. How difficult did you find working within the confines of the area they gave you to work in to build a fully fleshed out water park?
I think that was really when they said we were going to put it there. I was a little shocked. I was like, okay, that's a very tight space. And and when we started laying it out, realizing that okay, well, you know, these are slides. We don't need massive show buildings necessarily, so we can fit quite a bit on there. I think for my task as one of the attraction designers on it was a lot of our jobs were how can we hide the outside world as best as possible from the view of the guest inside the park. So I know I can't remember the names of some of the slides, but there's one of the slides on the corner that it gets very close, it seems, right to one of the off-ramps of I-4. It gets very close. And I remember going on it and being like, this is very close. But that was one of the jobs of us was really trying to figure out how can we, even though everything is very close, obviously you can't hide necessarily the Cabana Bay towers, but you can do a pretty good job of hiding the overpass from the ground level, at least, of all these slides, or at least from the towers and then the ground floor of the park. So a lot of it was really just developing, okay, we have a confined space that has a lot going on around it. How can we do the best job to hide as much of the outside world? And I think for the most part, I think we did a really successful job. I think it's very tough when you have slide towers that go up, 100 some odd feet in the air. You can only do so much. And I still think even there's a part of it that we talk about in design school and whatnot, that sometimes you don't always fully have to or I guess not even that. When you go on, anything that like a Main Street or the port of entry at Islands of Adventure, everything's a facade for the most part. Nothing goes further than what you need to see. And to an extent, your brain kind of fills in the blanks. Even for me, at least when I'm walking through Volcano Bay, even if I see, something that's obviously not in story or not in theme necessarily, you kind of just don't think about it necessarily because you're very much immersed in the experience that you're having. So I think even though it's a tight space, you're confined to a lot of restrictions on what you can do and what you can control from the guest point of view. I think when you do enough theming that kind of fills in the gaps, the guest's mind can do the rest of it and kind of hide all the other stuff that isn't necessarily supposed to be seen.
Yeah, I think, like you said, I think one of the biggest things is because you're dealing with, it's easy to cover the outside world when you're dealing from ground level, but when you're raising things up, it is difficult.
Yeah.
Chris, are you obviously the only one of us that's been dealing with that size? Does it feel big, or do you feel sort of crammed in, I suppose, as it were?
No, that's the thing, and I think we talked about it back when we did the roundtable. We may have mentioned it, but for where you're at and the size that you're dealing with, it doesn't feel scrunched up. You don't feel like you're in a small area. They do a really good job at giving some openness in there. Even blocking it from the streets or getting that noise away. There's other noises that go on in the park that kind of go along with the theming of the music and everything, and it just kind of gets you, at least for me and my family, when we've gone out there, it keeps you in that element, right? You don't feel like you're in a smaller space or next to a highway, which pretty close to a highway, right? It just does a really good job at kind of blending that all in together. Now, of course, on some of the tall slides that you have to go up, you're above a theme park now, so you can kind of see around, and you can see the highway and whatnot. But for the space that it's in, I mean, I think it was thought out pretty well into that aspect.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things. I think sometimes it got a bad rap. I think from how much maybe you could see or the confined space, but at the same time, I think obviously there's not the blessing of size at Universal Orlando as much as there is maybe at a Disney World. But down the street from where I'm at now is Disneyland, which also is very confined, but they do a very great job at hiding everything. And they're the same thing as I-5 or I don't remember what highway it is, but it runs right next to the park, and you don't hear it, you don't see it for everything. So I think it's really just about doing the best job you can, and then at some point there's a little bit of the real world element that comes in, and you can only do so much.
Yeah,
This is true.
And Justin, let me ask you. I know a while back, Universal announced that there's an expansion plot that's going to be going on in there. Is that something anything you can tell us about that? Something that was worked on previously? Just anything on that?
I am as much in speculation as you guys are with that one. I have some friends that I know that are over at Universal Creative now, and they have not told me a single thing. So I'm eagerly awaiting to see what's going to go there. I know that was always just something we knew that was going to be a little plot of land that was going to be used eventually, and I had no idea it was even going to be used as quickly as it was. But I think the success of the park prompted Universal probably to just be like, go for it. Let's put in some more capacity, because at least during the summer, I know that place is filled almost every day.
Before the summer, even it's been like a month before now. It's starting to fill up at 10 o'clock in the morning. So it's amazing.
If I think I remember correctly, even the CEO of Universal announced that expansion before the park even opened, right?
I think so. Yeah, I think it was somewhere around.
It was something weird. Yeah.
That's got to be a first.
Yeah, exactly. That
we love our park so much. Here's more of it.
Yeah. We love it already so much. You guys haven't seen it yet, so we know you're gonna love it.
Yeah.
Now, so Justin, Universal used the term water theme park, right? So how do you feel that Volcano Bay sets itself apart from other water parks in the Orlando area?
That is, I guess that's the $1 million question of everything. I think as a theme water park and everything, I think it matches everything else that is in Orlando and some of the best water parks out there, not only in Orlando, but I guess the rest of the world. I think it's right there on par with your Blizzard Beach, Typhoon Lagoons, your Aquaticas, in theming. I think it sets itself apart a little bit because I don't think anybody else uses the like the Tapu Tapu system, the queueless line. I don't think any of the other water parks use that just yet. And I think that's definitely something that, after it got its kinks worked out a little bit, I think has been just my favorite part of the whole experience. That you can kind of tap to get on a ride and then go hang out in one of the lazy rivers, and then go ride a water slide and kind of repeat. From a theming standpoint, I think it's also again right there with any of those other water parks that are out there. I think to an extent, I think there's only so much you can do with a water park, and I think in the time that was, I guess it took to build Volcano Bay, it got up there pretty quickly. So to be up at a level of theme that it's at in such a quick amount of time, I think is definitely where it keeps itself on the same mark as all of them. So I really, I could be biased and say, to me, it's my favorite water park that I've ever been to, thematically, adventure-wise. But I think just as on a fair level, I guess, I think it sits there right among the best that are out there. And I think part of it goes to, as we were just saying before, is the demand. I I have no idea what the end capacity numbers were for the parks or anything, but it's as we're saying, it fills up every single day for the most part, and I think some of the other parks are slightly larger, but it does show that the guests are loving what is in the park, whether it be the attraction lineup, the theming, just the vibe of the place. It's really just nailing it on every aspect on the guest level. So I think definitely. I think as it goes on how it stacks up for the rest, I think it's perfect. I think the use of the water theme park terminology, though, I think is genius on the marketing standpoint of the park, because I think to an extent, I think you label it, then as they've done, it's their third theme park that's there, and obviously Disney, I guess, could do the same thing and say they've got an additional 2 theme parks to it, and they should for the most part, because they are. I think the thing is, people for some reason feel that you have to classify, a theme park's one thing or a water park's another, just based on the vehicle that you're using to get through an attraction. But I think in the end, it goes back more to like the root of what a theme park is. It's just a themed environment that kind of takes you someplace else. And I think if, Universal was just a little, they were savvy enough to realize, if we say that this is a water theme park, then it adds a little bit more, pizzazz or whatever to it. Whether it's worked or not, I'm not entirely sure, but I think I know on Twitter, especially the raging debate of, is it a water park or is it a water theme park? I've never understood the difference between the two. I just go and I have a great time at it, and it's got a cool theme. But I think, when it comes to, whether it should be used as a water theme park or not, I think it's kind of irrelevant, because I think it's got a theme and it's a water park. So put the two together and it's a water theme park.
Yeah. I think the issue was that, obviously, like, we're sort of the Uber fanboys. You come at it from a slightly different position than the general public who are going in, and it's like, I've never heard a water park described as a water theme park before. So what are Universal doing that's going to be different from what Disney have done in their water parks to make it a water theme park? And everyone was like, is there going to be rides that aren't necessarily water slides? All this speculation of stuff that was going to be in there was crazy.
Yeah. I think that's really where it came down to. It was, what is going to be in it. And in the end, it's some really awesome collection of water slides that are there. But in the end, it is a water park after what it is. But I think it's just kind of, like I said, it's a really good marketing push to, how people are going to perceive the park from the outside that aren't your super fans.
Summer is coming, which for me here in Rhode Island means the snow is melting, school is almost out, and it's time for me to beg my mom to take me to Volcano Bay at Universal Orlando Resort. 25 acres of water slides, wave pools, and lazy rivers. This is going to be so fun. I wonder if I can get my mom to do the Ko-Okiri body plunge with me. Probably not. She says those things give her giant wedgies, but don't tell her I told you that. So parents, take a word of advice from me. Don't make your kids beg, just book it. Even better, let Mouse and Muggle Travel Company do all the work for you. Their services are free, so just go to mouseandmuggle.com and fill out the no obligation quote request. I promise my mom and Michelle will take great care of you. I know, because all of my vacations have been truly, simply magical. Oh, I hear my mom. Wish me luck. Mom!
So the entrance to the park and the reveal of that amazing view of Krakatoa, it's just simply stunning, isn't it? How important was it to the design team to make that first impression of the park stunning?
That, I think, is absolutely the most impressive part of the park, is when you do turn that corner after you've gotten your Tapu Tapu, and you kind of weave through for a few feet of kind of jungle, and then bam, there's your big reveal of this. I think it's almost 200 feet tall, maybe. The water, the volcano, it's massive. I think that reveal sells everything, because I think the amount of times, even I had known what it was going to look like, and with the reveal for a couple of years, and then kind of being there in person, I was even kind of at a loss for words, because when you're standing there, just the magnitude of all of of the size of it really is impressive, and even after going now a couple times, even hearing other people now, every time they walk in this, whoa, my goodness, there's this. And then you kind of already see, if you're not, the first people into the park, people have already started going down the drop slide tower. So you can already see people, flying through, and it kind of just builds that adventure. Like, okay, well, now you're told what kind of day you're going to have. It's going to be really thrilling. It's going to be a beautiful day because of, how the park already looks. And you can also tell there's going to be a lot of thrills, and then you've got a really awesome, lazy beach and wave pool, so it can be relaxing. So it kind of really sets the tone of what this park and what your adventure for the day is going to be. It's going to be a really broad range of adventures, really.
It's that thing again, like we talked about with the hotel. When you open those curtains and you see that view, it's like you go through the main entrance booths, and then you go round that corner, and it opens up in front of you, and it is breathtaking. I don't think there's any other word to describe it.
I can't wait to see it in person.
Yeah, I would.
It's a clever entrance. It's so good.
Yeah. We always like to describe, we looked a lot even at kind of like a Animal Kingdom's entrance, where it's very jungly as you kind of make your way through, and then you make that big reveal, and there's this massive tree at the end. Kind of, I guess really with every theme park, it's like that. You kind of have that big icon weenie reveal. And I think that was with any park, that we do, it's very important to make sure that you have that big icon that's going to really just set the tone as to what you're doing for the rest of your day. And then also with that, I think it's also a great wayfinding tool. As a designer, there's never a moment in the park that you don't really know where you're at, because you know what the front of the volcano looks like, what the back of the volcano looks like. You can kind of remember where your beach chairs and towels are, so you can always really find your way back, as the park for the most part is just one big circle. So it's a really good tool just as a like I said, wayfinding method, not only just as a really beautiful piece of architecture.
But is it stunning? We've sort of talked about before, and a lot of other people have. It's one of those things that not only is it awesome in the park, but anybody traveling down I-4 is going, what the hell is that? I need to go there.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah, you could see that thing from a mile away, and I think that's the coolest part is you can kind of see it, especially when you know you're going there later that day. And you kind of get that little bit of a taste of what you're going to see when you get there. And then even then, when you're on the highway, it looks tiny, and then you get right in front of it, and it's just massive. And it kind of just takes your breath away.
I think one of the cool things for us is when we go up normally on like a Friday night. So when we're getting close to our hotel, that volcano tip with the light is kind of a beacon, like, okay, we're here, we've made it. It's a nice destination to get to.
Awesome.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah.
So this is the first time that Universal has built a park with a queue-less system from the beginning, right? How much did this affect the design of the park?
Now that I think about it, this is a terrible answer. I'm not entirely sure if I remember if we had decided on a queue-less system at that time when I was working on it. I think it was still up in the air because I think at the same time we were developing this, Jimmy Fallon was under development as well.
Right.
So I think there was a little bit of, there's a talk of we trying to do this queue-less system, but I can't entirely remember if there was talks at the time of, at least for when my part of the development was there, if we were going to be using the queue-less system. But I think for the most part, I think it still kind of remains this. The only thing I think that really changes from an outside view, I guess, of how you would design it is having things for you to do while you're waiting in the queue-less system. I think that's where some of the things struggle, whether it be with the queue-less system in the Universal parks or My Magic Plus or whatever it is. I think it struggles a little bit just because sometimes guests, if you're not going to be waiting in line, you need to have things for guests to do as they're waiting. And I think some parks, they don't necessarily have that infrastructure built in to go and do all these things, whereas Volcano Bay, I think it works perfectly. I think maybe for the dry theme parks it's a little bit harder, but as a Volcano Bay, your whole idea is just to go there and relax. I think if you go in with the mentality of like, I got to get on all these rides, I got to get on all these slides, whatever the case is, you're gonna, I think, struggle to have a good time. I think if you go in knowing I've got this Tapu Tapu, I'm gonna go up and I'm gonna get something for the Krakatoa Aqua Coaster, and I'm gonna go get a drink, get some food, then I'm gonna go around on the Adventure River, and then maybe hang out in the wave pool, and then when my buzzer goes off I can go on the water slide, and then when it's done I go get another one and kind of repeat until I'm ready to go home. And I think that's kind of what the secret to the park is just go, have a little bit of I guess the secret to the design of the park is to have things for you to do while you're waiting for the attractions to come along, but also know that you're supposed to be there really to relax. It's kind of like I had said before it's the ultimate, hotel pool for Cabana Bay. It's the idea of like, if you were going to stay by a pool at a hotel, you're just kind of taking that day and relaxing for a little bit. And I think that's, the biggest tip for Volcano Bay is to kind of just understand that you got to take it easy, relax, breathe. You're going to get on some really fun slides, but also just take it in. Enjoy the sun, enjoy the family and friends that you're with. And you're going to get on some really great slides. You can, and personally for me, the most fun thing in the park, aside from the Aqua Coaster, is the Rapid Action River. I can't remember the official name of it.
The Fearless River. I can't think what its actual name is.
Yeah. It's my sister and I think the last time we were there, we spent about, maybe 2 hours straight in that, just going around in circles.
Fearless River, right?
Yeah, the Fearless River, that's what it's called. We spend so much time in that just because it's almost like you're on a water slide that has no lines, and it just has some fun theming and whatnot. But I think that the secret to the design of how to work a queueless system in is to have things to do that don't require a line. So I'm curious to see how that'll transition maybe a little bit more into the actual dry theme parks. But I think as for water parks, I think more water parks should take that kind of as or take on the system like that, because I think it works perfectly.
Yeah. So in other words, your top tip would be, pardon the pun, go with the flow.
Hey! Oh my God, she's been sat there waiting to say that for the last 5 minutes.
I think we have to put that on the t-shirt. Yeah. Go with the flow.
That is a good tip though, Justin, because it's one of those things that I know for us coming over from the UK, how much these holidays cost. Yes. So you know that to try and get the average guest spending thousands of dollars coming to the Orlando area for a trip, to get them in that mindset that, you know what, you don't have to do everything to have a good time, is such a difficult thing to get people to take on board, because everyone believes, I have spent so much money, I need to do everything at least twice and more.
We've been more than guilty of that ourselves.
Oh, no, even myself, I'm like the same thing. Yeah, absolutely. I think it's one of those things. I think especially, the cost of a vacation is very expensive, where, especially to these theme parks, you want to go and see what the newest, the best thing is. You want to make sure you feel like you've done everything. But I think the real tip is to really sometimes in some parks especially is to really just slow down, take in everything. Because I think the coolest part of theme parks are the stories told that are not being told to you while you're on a ride vehicle of sorts. I think I know we're a Universal podcast, but my big fan is I'm a huge fan of Animal Kingdom, and I think that's because the storytelling told through that park that just has nothing to do with you being on a ride is just so perfect. And I think sometimes that's just missed on people. And I think it goes for all the Universal parks. There's so many little details and everything that are really well thought of, that don't require you to go on a single ride. And I think that's, at least for me, as maybe it's just the designer side of me that, loves putting together the story that is being told to me in other various ways. But yeah, no, I think it's definitely one of those things. Take it easy, go with the flow, especially, and you'll still have a great time.
But it's totally true that you say for the first couple of visits we came out, port of entry was a means to an end.
It was a corridor.
It was the way into the park. And then since doing the podcast, we've spoken to one of the art designers on Port of Entry. We've spoken to the guy who did the music for Port of Entry. And we have a completely different appreciation of that part of the park that a lot of people don't. And it's one of the things we really sort of try and drum into people. Take your time and enjoy it. I know you want to get into that park, but this area is stunning.
It's one of my favourite areas of all the parks, to be honest. I love it.
Agreed. Yeah, I think that might be my favorite entrance to any theme park that I've been to. It's just perfect. And I think the thing is for me, I'm one that has to race to go and get on, Forbidden Journey or Spider-Man. But my thing is I always make sure that I double back and spend a little bit of time. So it's one of the things that you don't necessarily have to do it always in order, but as long as you put a little bit of time into kind of seeing everything else that's there, I think you'll take it all in just fine.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, I am a self-confessed water park hater. We'll just say the last time I went to a water park, Montel Jordan's "This Is How We Do It" was on the radio, and it was not a throwback. Why would someone like me, who doesn't like water parks necessarily, why would you say I should visit Volcano Bay?
Ooh, okay, so I think I fall in the same category a little bit as you. Is I cannot stand going to water parks for the most of the time. I burn like nobody's business. So the less I have to be around the sun or in a pool getting burnt, the better. But Volcano Bay, I think, is an absolute different story. In that, I think there is. My favorite part is, like I was saying, I think is the Fearless River, and that's something that I've not experienced anywhere else. So I think that kind of tells to the variation of attractions. I don't think there's really one attraction or water slide here that is the same throughout the park. I think, each tower might have a similar kind of style, but for the most part, most of the slides don't really repeat themselves. So every time you go on something new in the park, it's kind of a different thrill or a different kind of means to how you're going to experience the attraction itself. So I think from an attraction standpoint, you can go from things of, hanging out in a wave pool. There's kind of an adultish pool that's next to it where, it's just more or less just a regular pool, but you kind of can just, swim around a little bit. You can go on a lazy river, the action river. You can do some very tame slides. You can do some very thrilling slides. So I think the attraction lineup is definitely something that's, a really big pull. For me, the other one, some of my favorite stuff is actually just some of the food in the park. Is some of my favorite. I off the top of my head, I can't remember too much of it because it's been a little while since I've been there, but I do remember, I know there was like the taco frog stand that's there that I think a lot of people hit on.
Feasting Frog, yeah.
Yes, that's on my list.
Yes, yeah, that one was one of my favorites. And one of the other ones that I loved was some of even like the little things. The Coke Freestyle machines had a special Coca-Cola product for just Volcano Bay.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I think there was just a little bit. It's very different in that. I guess even on top of it, there's some walkthrough attractions in that, you can walk around and use your tapu and make some magic around the park and spray, unsuspecting guests going through the water slides or down the lazy river to going into the volcano itself and interacting with Vol, the volcano goddess, I believe it is, that's inside of the volcano. So there's a lot more than just kind of going in, standing on line for 100 feet in the air on a water slide tower, and then eventually making your way down a slide. I think there's a lot more. It really does bring in that water theme park element. I think that we were talking about that. It really does have something for everybody. My mom, for example, she is not a water slide person, but she'll go on one or two, and then she'll hang out, on the lazy river or kind of dip her feet into the wave pool. Whereas for someone like myself, I want to go on, the biggest, fastest water slides that are there, except for the drop slides. I will not go up there. No. I'm terrified of those. But I think, it really has something for everybody, whether it be from, your foodie, from your person that just wants to go and take some cool Instagrams. It's got some great spots for those, to just your big attractions itself. You have a really great variety of just everything for a really enjoyable and relaxing day.
And let's not forget that the Kanuku boat bar is always right now. So always ride now.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And there is never one too far from you either.
You guys spaced them out perfectly.
Yeah, exactly.
See, I don't know whether I would go on those drop slides either. Having done Summit Plummet at Blizzard Beach twice, I was not well the next day due to my sinuses being extremely clogged with horribly over-chlorinated water.
With everybody else's...
Yeah, we don't need to go there.
My thing, it comes from more of a fear of heights, and that goes, I guess, a little bit back to what we talked about, some of the design process. I pushed very hard for my time that I was there to do as much to hide how high up in the air you were from everything, and that was just coming from a selfish point of view of like, I just hate height, and if I didn't have to see, then it would be great. So it didn't end up working out as well as I liked, but so I still managed to go up, but I'm shaking a little bit on the way up. But there's some very intense attractions there.
Oh, it's pretty decent hike up there too.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's a good point to come from, though, isn't it? Having someone on the design team that doesn't like height, that you can have some sort of input to help people who are in the same boat still potentially ride stuff that they wouldn't normally ride.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. No, I go up there and my eyes are usually like squinting, or I'm holding on, like looking straight ahead with my white knuckling a railing. But once I get up to the top and I go down, I'm actually good. But it's definitely a little bit of overcoming some fears. But yeah, that was my one intention, was like, maybe I could try to swing the design of this a little bit and make it a little bit more less scary for myself, at least.
Yeah. And going back to those like food and drink options, like you were saying, like I hope that's something they do eventually offer at some point, is like an evening ticket, like a cheaper one, just to go in and eat and drink, not necessarily do the water stuff. I think that is something that would really get me in there for sure.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no, I would love that, just because I like going in and just seeing the park in the evening when it kind of comes to life in a whole nother light.
Yeah.
Yes.
Exactly.
It's really beautiful.
Yeah, that lighting package is amazing there, and it's a shame Universal always has the most amazing lighting on everything, and then they close all their parks so early you don't get to see it enough.
It kills me. I live about 5 minutes from Universal Hollywood out here, and it closes at like 6 o'clock every night, and I just want to go there after work, but they won't let me. So hopefully one day they'll expand that a little bit more, because that too is also a really beautiful park at night.
Yeah, and going into this, because that Volcano Bay does stay open a little bit later typically than everything else because it's attached to the hotels and that kind of thing. One of the major things Universal marketed when talking about Volcano Bay was how the park would be a different experience once the sun goes down. So how did you guys focus on the nighttime design of the park, and do you feel like you achieved your goals when it came to that?
Yeah, I think, trying to remember, for that part, I think that came maybe a little bit longer, or a little later after I had been in the development of the park. But I know it was kind of in the forefront that we wanted to make it where it was definitely just a beautiful park, both day and night. And I think at the start of the park, I think they were still wrapping some stuff up, but I know now it's certainly a gorgeous looking park at night with the lighting package. And I'm sure they're still tweaking it every night to kind of play around with it. But I think, yeah, definitely, it was always in the forefront of my mind to make sure that we were making a park that was both beautiful, yeah, especially during the day and at night, because I know that was kind of part of one of the stories that are being told at the for the park is that, and if I can remember it correctly, I believe is that because I know Val, I believe, tells you the story while you're touring the park when you're inside talking to her, is that there was I'm going to butcher this story so badly, but more or less that there was the main god of the islands or whatever, and he had a princess daughter who fell in love with I believe a human warrior or something, and more or less that they kind of banished the two, one to the sky and one to the sea, when one, and then once a day they meet together every night or every evening where the sun goes down and the sun meets the water. And that's the one time that they're unified together again every day. So that was kind of our big motivation of kind of being like, okay, so this is, a beautiful moment of the day. You get this awesome golden hour just from the sky itself. And, how can we really push the lighting package to really reflect now it's, you went from a very energetic, exciting day to very much more, still thrilling evening and night, but, kind of keeping that lighting to just be a little bit more relaxing and kind of wind down your day a little bit. I think that was when I was there my last time, we sat on the shores of the wave pool and kind of just sat there for almost an hour just watching the volcano erupt and the lighting go off for it. And we were sitting in the wave pool and just lounging around for the last hour that the park was going to be open. But you didn't want to do anything else just because it was this beautiful atmosphere, just, this beautifully colored volcano up against the dark Orlando sky was just really, really perfect, and just it was the most calm and enjoying. It was a really good moment of kind of looking around at my family and everybody else enjoying themselves, of being like, we had a great day today, and now we're gonna, it was very relaxing, and it's certainly a big moment that stands out.
Yeah,
of my vacation with a lot of people, because it's just that beautiful little, goodbye as you're leaving the park.
And I'll add to that it's such a great photo op. That entire park is a photo op when the sun's coming down, because you get these great views of a volcano in your background and the sun setting. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. I'm actually right now, I'm even looking on just Google and I typed in volcano, and there's just countless photos of just like, I've never seen this photo before, but this one's beautiful. And it's just one after the other, and it's just, there's almost just not a bad picture of this volcano you can take.
Yeah, like you say, sitting there just enjoying an hour and not really doing anything, just enjoying the park, something a lot of people in theme parks don't do, and it is an important part of it to just remember where you are.
Yeah, absolutely. In the end, it's to go and enjoy the people you're with and make some memories. And a lot of the times, those are best made when you're not doing anything and you're kind of just sitting around taking it all in and enjoying everybody's company. To get all sentimental, I guess.
Yeah, basically. And cry that you're going home tomorrow, basically.
Yeah, exactly. It's all over. It's time to go. But you had a good time.
But Darren, you had a great point there. I think if they did like an after 4 ticket for people just to go in and basically use it as like an extension of a city walk, I think they would get a lot of people in there, especially from like Cabana Bay.
Certainly. Yeah, I think the atmosphere and everything, it's something I would really like to, just like you said, relax and, just hang out in. So that's something I hope they do. It makes sense for sure.
Yeah, I would go in just to kind of get a drink and hang out and just walk around and watch it all. Especially if they found some way to get some nighttime entertainment in there, even and just kind of bring it all together. I would love that. Yeah,
to do like a Polynesian music show, for the opening of it. To do that with just once a day to close the park out would be fantastic.
Yeah.
Oh, that would be amazing.
Probably the safest place to have a fire show.
But I think that would be perfect.
Yeah.
It would definitely get people, because there's still people who are like, I don't want to go in water with sweaty tourists who are doing God knows what in that water. I'm looking at one right now.
I was gonna say, you didn't have to quote me.
But to get those people in there as well, because there's plenty of people out there that just basically, I'm not getting semi-naked with lots of other people.
Look,
absolutely.
As far as I'm concerned, a swimming pool is just a big bath with strangers.
Yeah,
Well, it is. When you boil it down to its fundamentals, it is kind of a strange thing.
Yeah. Everybody's just going to hang out in one big pool together.
It's like I don't get hot tubs either. They're weird.
Yeah.
It's like, invite your friends round and let's all have a bath together.
Yeah, you wouldn't say to your friends, come round, hey, do you fancy having a bath?
Anyway,
Sorry.
it's true.
It is.
Now, Justin, we have a little segment we like to do here called Rapid Fire.
Oh.
We will go through a series of questions, basically A or B, sometimes C, and you pick one very rapidly, and we'll go through those. Are you up for that?
I'm very excited for that.
This determines what type of Universal Orlando fan you are, and trust me, a lot of people will judge you by the answers you are about to give.
Yes.
So no pressure.
It's a very, very serious segment here.
That's perfect. I tend to be a little controversial in some of my interests.
Oh, good.
So I'm excited to see what might be here.
Perfect.
Awesome.
Yes, Justin is not privy to these questions before.
Oh,
No.
excellent.
Yes, these are all new.
Uh-oh.
Okay. Tracy, you want to start us off?
I will indeed. So, Justin, Hogsmeade or Diagon Alley?
Oh, Diagon Alley.
Forbidden Journey or Escape from Gringotts?
Escape from Gringotts.
Oh, you were right. You are controversial. The Hogwarts Express, London to Hogsmeade or Hogsmeade to London?
London to Hogsmeade.
Spider-Man or Transformers?
Oh, Spider-Man, easily.
Tough one next.
Not really.
Shrek or Minion Mayhem?
Yeah, the pause is they're both crap. I can't pick one of them.
Which one do I hate the least?
I'll have to go with Minion Mayhem. I do love the Minions. So I would rather sit through that one.
Oh my god. Justin, does Andy know that you like Minions?
I don't know. I'm going to have to tell him that.
I think he'll listen to this and go, I am never talking to Justin as long as I live.
I'm sorry, Andy.
Okay. Duff or Wizard's Brew?
Oh, I'm going to go Duff beer. I think.
Good choice.
Nice.
Yeah.
Pumpkin juice or a Flaming Moe?
Oh, Flaming Moe.
Oh, just when I thought we were getting on.
Horror makeup or Sinbad?
Horror and makeup. I love horror and makeup.
Yeah. Good.
Blues Brothers or Celestina Warbeck?
Oh, Celestina Warbeck.
Jaws or Back to the Future?
Ooh.
Drum roll.
I'm going to be, this is where I'm going to get a lot of people angry. I never got to ride either of them.
What?
I know. I was a little late to the Universal, going to Universal. And I was there when I believe Simpsons might have been open at that point, but Jaws was there. And I'll blame my sister on this one. We were there for Hogsmeade, and I wanted to go to the other park, and she is terrified of Jaws for some reason. She had never rode it before. And I was like, I want to go ride Jaws. And literally, I think 2 months later, that's when they announced that it was closing, and I wasn't going to be able to make it down. But based off of what I've seen online, I think I'd like Jaws. I like Back to the Future as a movie more, but I think I'd like Jaws as an attraction more.
I'll accept that answer.
I'm sorry.
Me too.
Yeah, Darren's being polite.
I know. It pains me as a theme park fan that I never got to ride either of them. So I got to get to Japan at least to ride Jaws.
I think Tracy's
Yes.
happy with that answer.
Oh, I'm very happy.
Megatron or Optimus Prime?
Megatron.
Ooh.
Okay.
Yeah, I know the ones in Hollywood. They have the ones where they can talk
Oh, they're
directly.
so
to the-
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's a little bit more sassy out here.
Yeah.
We
And
need
I
the
like
Megatron over here.
Yeah, I like the little bit of a sass that he gives to the guests as they're meeting them.
Cool.
Relaxing day at Waturi Beach or Thrill Seeker on Krakatoa?
Oh, it's gonna be the. I'm gonna go with the relaxing day. I think.
Oh, I
okay.
expected you to go the
Yeah.
other way.
Yeah.
I know. I surprised myself. I think too, but I think I'd rather I think hang out on the beach with some food and a drink or two and get in the lazy river a few times.
That's a good choice, too.
Yeah. I like that. So, in-ride effects, fire or water?
Oh, I think fire. I think that's just much more terrifying, and it
Yeah.
gets me more excited.
Yeah.
Frog choir or ragtime gals?
Oh, I like both of them actually. I think I'm gonna go with the frog choir.
Good
though.
choice.
I like the frogs, just the theatrics that go into that
Yeah.
one a little bit more. I think.
Grinchmas or Mardi Gras?
Oh, Mardi Gras! I love Mardi Gras.
See, I need to
Floats
do.
and everything.
I know.
Yeah,
I
so
know.
much fun.
I need to do them both.
I know.
Yeah,
Nope, you heard it.
Christmas is a lot of
I
fun.
know.
But, yeah.
He's been saying I know for 7 years.
I've been saying it for longer than
You
that.
have.
All right, Mardi Gras Parade or Macy's Parade?
I think the Mardi Gras parade still. Yeah.
Cool.
Okay.
Halloween Horror Nights, IP or original?
Oh, that's a tough one. Oh.
Depends on the year,
I
doesn't
think-
it?
I was gonna say because I was there last year and I was like, well, maybe I could like. To me, I think I lean towards I like the original houses, especially last year. But also at the same time, I loved the IP houses. I think I'm gonna go original houses though because I think they're just slightly can get a little bit more creative. I know the Scarecrow one and the Bayou one last year just were my absolute favorite things. And the one when I go to Horror Nights every year out here in Hollywood. And they, for the most part, stick to just all IP houses. And I know that's one of the things I miss a little bit out here is that we don't have any original houses. So definitely, yeah. So my answer will be original content houses.
Yes.
And now going back to Halloween Horror Nights, Express or Stay and Scream?
I've done both. I think that's a very tough question.
They're not meant to be easy.
Yeah, I think. If I had the option to do either one, I'd do Express, I think. Just because then I don't have to wait in the lines for the houses. I'd rather wait in line for an attraction at Horror Nights or for a show, I guess. But I've done Stay and Scream too, and I was able to knock out a couple of the big ones really quickly. But I think I'll go with Express on that one.
It's a trick question, and we do both.
Yeah. There you go, Darren. Yeah, Darren's
that
right.
is
The
a
answer
good-
is both.
Yeah,
It's the cheat answer.
I'm in the process of planning my trip, and I'm like, well, am I going to do Stay and Scream or Express this year? And I'm like, I think I got to do both. So I'm glad that's the easiest.
Yeah.
Exactly. Go through a couple of the houses, and then don't use your Express at the beginning, and then go through a couple, and then go back through those ones again at night. It's perfect.
Exactly.
Cool. Right. Another Volcano Bay question for you. Carla or Tai Nui?
Oh, I'm the worst one. Which ones are those again?
I don't know. I've never been. I just looked them up.
Those are the serpentine body slides.
Oh,
so
yes.
next to the major drop one.
Yes. I think I remember doing. It was Kala, correct?
Yeah.
I think?
Yeah.
Yeah, that one I believe is the one I liked a little bit more.
It's bad news when the names for the attractions are even bad that the designers can't remember them.
that was my one thing with the park was I was just like the names, guys. They're not easy to pronounce.
Seuss Landing or Kid Zone?
Oh, Seuss Landing.
Is the correct answer.
Yeah, absolutely.
Port of entry or production central?
Port of entry, easily.
Again, the right answer.
Leaky Cauldron or Three Broomsticks?
Leaky Cauldron, I think. Yeah.
Oh. Here's one. The Hulk or Rip Ride Rocket?
Oh, that's. I think I still like the Hulk more. Although the last time I was on it, it was a little bit. I think I got off it. And I was like, I think that might be my last time. I am by no means getting older by any chance, but that one I think was just a little much for me even last time. Yeah, I see the hippogriff.
Actually, the stop on that at the end, we did that once, and it's like, it doesn't slowly break, it breaks.
Yeah, it breaks. It's hard.
Yeah.
One fish, two fish, or Kang and Kodos?
Oh, I think one fish, two fish.
Yeah, good choice.
Yeah.
Right. Lagoons. Islands of Adventure Lagoon or Universal Studios Florida Lagoon?
I'll say this. Right now, Islands of Adventure. I think in a few months it's going to be Universal Studios.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking exactly the same thing there when Tracy read the question. I was like, yeah, that's going to change, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. I think visually, I think it'll still stay the same in that I like seeing Hogwarts and the Welcome Center for Jurassic Park kind of there. But I think what they're going to get for whatever the nighttime show is, I think people are gonna that's going to really make it the place to be at night.
Awesome. That's awesome.
Reign of Kong or Fast and Furious Supercharged?
Oh, Reign of Kong.
Yeah, I still had to put it in.
To be fair, I do. I haven't been yet on the one in Florida. I've done the one on the studio tour out here, and I've seen the video for the one in Florida. And I really enjoy Supercharged. But I think I just like the theme, the whole adventure theme a little bit more, and the actors in the queue for Reign of Kong. Just that one gets me real excited.
Don't worry, it's the right answer.
Yeah.
Express or virtual queue?
I think it'd be Express. Yeah.
Yeah.
Winding River or Fearless River?
Fearless River.
No hesitation.
Like all the conversation we've had so far, I've been like picking up on little things saying that, right?
Yeah.
So I know what the answer to that question is because you've already mentioned it.
Many times. Yeah, exactly.
Back to the Future. DeLorean or train?
Oh, DeLorean.
Yeah.
Good. Now I have no idea what this is. So,
Hell no.
oh yeah or oh no?
Oh, no.
Hollywood Drive-In Mini Golf, Ghostly Greens, or Planet Putt?
Oh, Ghostly Greens. That is still my favorite mini golf I've ever done.
It is awesome.
Brilliant, isn't it?
Yeah.
Still
Yeah.
need to do it. All right. To wrap things off, and probably one of the hardest questions here.
I don't think it
The
is for
light.
Justin, in fairness.
Yeah, well, yeah, got to build it up a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
The Lighthouse, the Globe, or Krakatoa? Hey, you see?
You can hear the inner
It is a little
turmoil.
tough. It is. I think I do like the Krakatoa more, but the Lighthouse is not far behind on that one.
I'll give you
Yeah.
that one then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Solid answer.
I should have added Krakatoa in. Like, obviously now we've got the three parks
Yeah.
with the three centerpieces. It makes sense to be in there. But that's the biggest turmoil that we've heard anybody answer any rapid fire question so far.
We
It's
had
like,
you distraught in your head.
Yeah. I think because I'm looking right now at the picture of Krakatoa, I'm like, man, that is really pretty. But I also really love the Lighthouse.
It is though, when you look
Yeah.
at Krakatoa, it's one of those things. Like we've talked about the lighthouse, and the lighthouse is one of those icons that not only is such a great thing for Islands of Adventure, but it affects all of City Walk. When you're in City Walk on a night, you know the lighthouse has an impact on the sky line of City Walk as well. And I suppose to the same extent, so does Krakatoa.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting in that regard that the icon for both the two parks, Universal Studios and Islands of Adventure, their big icon is outside of the park, which is very interesting.
Yeah.
Which I think I like. I think that maybe that's what edges Krakatoa a little bit more, is the reveal of that icon after you have entered the park.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, Justin, we want to thank you very much for being on the show. You've given us some really good information on
No, it's
Volcano,
been-
more than what we knew already.
It's been really cool.
No,
Thanks,
It's
Justin.
been a lot of fun.
Yeah, I appreciate it. No, thank you guys. I've been listening for a long time, so it was very exciting to finally get on and be able to talk with you guys in person.
I will apologise for the crap you will get off a certain Mr. DeGenova when this show comes out over your love of minions.
Yeah.
He sits a few desks down from me, so right when he's listening, I'm sure I'll just get a desk there from him.
You'll know point. Because you'll hear, what?
Actually, if you hear him do that, I would maybe just go up to his desk and just calmly place a banana on his desk and walk away.
I think I will do that, actually.
But yeah, thank you very much for coming out. Before we go, do you want to plug any of your social media outlets? Or
Yeah.
My main thing is just on Twitter. I'm Justin_Martin23, and I'm usually posting everything at this point. Mostly theme park stuff, though.
It's definitely a good account to follow then.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, again, thank you for being on the show. I think it's going to wrap it up for us today. Now for myself, Dee, Tracy, Darren, and Justin, thank you very much, and we'll see you next time.
Cut, print, that's a wrap for another episode of the Unofficial Universal Orlando podcast. Never miss a show by subscribing on Apple Podcasts and leave us a rating and review while you're there. Not an Apple user? You can listen on Stitcher, Spotify, YouTube, iHeartRadio, or your podcatcher of choice. Email us any questions or comments to podcast@uuopodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Google+, YouTube, Instagram, and Pinterest. Just search UUO Podcast. Keep up with the latest news, rumors, and updates on our blog at uuopodcast.com. Thanks for listening. See you next week.